Hi guys, welcome to another Yarn Scrap Friday, and this week I'm going to show you how to make these flower chains which work as a really good idea for a bracelet or for making into a headband or for decorating your projects. And here we go, we can see they're all joined together, and this is crocheted as a one piece so you don't have to sew them together. And for this project I'm going to be using some DK light worsted weight yarn, and I've chosen a nice pink colour. This is a yarn weight of 3. And I'm going to be using a 3.5mm E crochet hook to go with that yarn. And it's a good idea to have a pair of scissors, and you may require a yarn needle, but I haven't particularly used it for this pattern because you can just tie the ends for a bracelet, just tie them in a knot, so you may not need a yarn needle for once. Okay, so let's begin. So we're going to take our pink yarn and our 3.5mm E crochet hook, and the first thing to do is we're going to chain 4 to begin. So we do our little slip knot and then we chain 4. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. So we chain 4. And then what we want to do is find your first chain. There's our first chain. But what we want to do in our first chain is a double crochet. And this is in US terminology. So we're going to yarn over. So wrap the yarn around your hook. Then put your hook into that first chain that you did. Just pop him in there. And bring the yarn through that first chain. So you've got your 3 loops. And then do a double crochet. So yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2. Okay, and that creates quite a big loop that's sort of joined at the beginning and the end. Your 4 chains are joined at the beginning and the end by that double crochet, and in the middle is a nice big hole, and it's into that hole we're going to work our petals. And this is quite similar to my absolute beginner tutorial for a primrose simple flower. So what we're going to do is we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2, chain 2. Then we're going to yarn over and go into that big hole in the middle and do a double crochet. So bring the yarn through and just wrapping it around, do a double crochet. I'm going to do another one of those, and I'm just wrapping it around the loop. Bring the yarn through and do another double crochet. So you've got 2. And then we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2. And then we put our hook into that centre again and do a slip stitch. So we're just going to bring the yarn through the loop and straight through the loop on our hook. And that completes our first petal. We want to repeat that another 4 times because we want 5 petals. So we do the same again. We chain 2, 1 and 2. Then we do 2 double crochet, just wrapping it around that loop. 1 double crochet, yarn over and go back in for another double crochet, 2, then chain 2, 1 and 2, chain 2 to finish, and we're going to slip stitch. So put our hook in there, bring the yarn through the loop, then straight through the loop on our hook, and that completes our second petal. Okay, I'm just going to move stitches over so we've got lots of room. And do the same thing again. We're going to chain 2, 1 and 2, 2 double crochet. I'm also tucking in that tail end as well, so wrapping it around the tail end. So 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, chain 2, 1 and 2, slip stitch into the centre. We're going to do that twice more. So chain 2, 1 and 2, 2 double crochet, 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet. Then we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2, chain 2, move the stitches over to make room and do your slip stitch. Okay, and we just want to do one more, so I'm just going to move those stitches over, fit one more petal in, so we chain 2, 1 and 2, 2 double crochet, 1 double crochet and 2 double crochet, 2 double crochet, and then chain 2, 1 and 2, and we slip stitch into the center straight through the loop. Okay, and there's our first. I pull that little tail end, might bring in the hole a little bit, and there is our first little flower that we've created, just made up of chain 2, 2 double crochet, chain 2, slip stitch. We've done that 5 times into that loop to create a nice simple flower. And what we're going to do now is we're going to create our next one in our little chain of flowers. Okay, so when you've completed your first flower, what we're going to do is create the chains that join them to the next one. And in between each flower is going to be 2 chains. So you want to chain 2, 1 and 2. And they are the 2 chains that are going to be in between each flower. So on top of that, we then need to chain 4 for our loop. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, so in total you've chained 6. You've got the 2 chains that will be in between our flowers, and then the 4 chains which we're going to work into a loop to make the second flower. So 6 chains in total. And what we're then going to do is we're going to yarn over and then finding your 4th chain from hook. Now we don't count the loop on our hook. There's our first chain, second, third and 4th. Put our hook into that 4th and do a double crochet like so, and then we've created another loop with a hole in the middle there, and then in between those is going to be our 2 chains. So what we want to do is then create the petals for our next flower. So we chain 2, 1 and 2, yarn over, and then finding that big hole in our loop, put our hook in there and wrapping it around, we do a double crochet. We want 2 of those, so there's 1, and go back into the loop and do another one, 2. Then we finish up our petal with chain 2 and slip stitch. Put a hook in there, bring the yarn through, straight through the loop on our hook to do a slip stitch. And there's our first petal. And we just repeat that another 4 times, making sure to keep this flower and its chains out of the way. So we chain 2 again, 1 and 2, yarn over, and then just putting your little flower out the way, making sure we're only wrapping it around these chains and not those 2 chains as well. Put our hook back into the loop and do 2 double crochet, 1 and 2. You can move them over. Then finish up your petal with chain 2 and slip stitch. Okay, so you've got our second petal. The next one, chain 2, 2 double crochet, 1, 2, and chain 2, 1 and 2, slip stitch, straight for the loop. Okay, and I've just been making sure to work it into that loop, keeping these 2 chains out of the way. We need to do that twice more, so move your stitches over. Same again, chain 2, 2 double crochet, 1 and 2, chain 2, 1 and 2, and slip stitch. Oops, got that. Then last one, chain 2, 2 double crochet, that loop. Finish up with chain 2 and slip stitch. Right, so and there we go. If I just pull that up, you can see we now have another flower that's joined in between with the other one, just 2 little chains in there, but that rests nicely to hide those chains, but they are now joined as one piece. And we can just keep going and do the next one. So we do the same thing again. We chain 2, 1 and 2, and there are 2 chains in between, and we chain 4 on top of that. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have 6 chains in total. Then we yarn over and finding our 4th stitch from hook, our 4th chain from hook. Don't count the loop on your hook. There's our 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. Put our hook in that 4th chain and do a double crochet. And there we have our next loop with a hole in the middle for another set of 5 petals. And you just carry on this way until you get the length that you want. So chain 2, go to that center, do 2 double crochet, 1 and another one, 2, then chain 2, 1 and 2, then slip stitch into there, into that loop, like so. And there's our petal, and we just carry on until we've got the desired length. So I'm going to repeat this another few times. I get about 5, and then I'll come back and show you the end result. So again, chain 2, there is our next flower. So if I just pull that up, you can then see our next flower has joined to these 2, the 2 chains in between. And we do the same thing again for the next one. We just do our little chain 2, 1 and 2, so therefore in between the flowers, chain 4 on top of that, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So we chain 6 in total. Then we yarn over, then find our 4th stitch from hook. Don't count the loop on your hook. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Put our hook in that 4th chain from hook, 4th stitch from hook, and do a double crochet. And there we go. There's our next loop, ready for our next flower. And we just carry on doing the same thing again until you've got the desired length of flowers that you want. Okay. Okay, so I've repeated that a couple more times, and all that's left to do is I'm going to probably turn this into a little bracelet or something. So I'm just going to cut my yarn, leaving enough for tying, and just bring the yarn through, and then you can just simply wrap that around your wrist and then tie 2 tail ends together, which I can't do one-handed. There you go, and you've got a really nice cute little flower bracelet. You could also turn this into a headband, or you could just make them to decorate a baby's room or whatever you fancy making. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you managed to follow along, and like I always say, I shall see you soon for some more crochet fun. Cheers guys, bye!